Today, I want to talk about splitting firewood. Um, Chances are, if you're going to the country and you're on an acreage, you're going to have a lot of firewood. You're going to have lots of trees and, and a wood stove. We have 2 wood stoves, and you're going to be splitting some firewood. There's a couple of things you can do that make that job a lot easier. And the first thing about splitting firewood and wood stoves is you really want to embrace it. Don't look at it as a job. I joke to people that when I lived in the city, I used to go to the gym 3 times a week. Now I have 2 wood stoves, and so that keeps me pretty fit. But I've certainly picked up a couple of tricks for making the job of splitting firewood a little bit easier. Of course, there's the old hand method, the old hand splitting method, and I do a lot of hand splitting. And there's a few things you can do to make that easier. The first thing is if you have rounds on the ground, you've dropped the trees and you've bucked them up with your chainsaw, if you can wait until the fall when you get the first frost, they split. It's like night and day. They split so easy. I'm showing you some video here of me splitting these big alder rounds, and it was almost effortless. I just had to hit them with the axe, and because of the frozen moisture in the wood, it just pops apart. So you might not be able to wait till the fall, though. You might need to, get that wood split as soon as you drop it for that next season. So, that's a good argument for having lots of wood. Trying to be 2 years ahead in your firewood, right? And I never seemed to be able to do that, but anyway, if you can wait for that first frost, a lot easier. The other thing that an old woodsman showed me years and years ago, and this works, is it takes a bit of practice, but when you get the knack of it, you'll find it really makes splitting your wood a lot easier. What you do is with your axe, as you bring the axe down and you make contact with the surface of your wood, that's my round there, and that's the top of it, you kind of, just as the axe is making contact, you kind of angle it off a bit. Sort of boom, and you kind of angle it off. And that sort of breaks the fiber. And I'm going to show you here some video of me demonstrating this. And I'm splitting some alder. It's a fair size. And I'm barely swinging the axe. I'm just, I am swinging it, but I'm not like, Charles Bronson and, the Magnificent Seven. I'm just swinging it, contact, and boom, the wood is just falling apart. Almost effortless. And speaking of Charles Bronson in Magnificent Seven, I don't know if you guys remember the scene early in the movie where he's splitting the wood, and he's got the wood in the head of the axe, and he's lifting that thing up with a big chunk of wood in the axe, and he's coming down. It looks it looks real macho, like only Charles Bronson can pull that off. But I'm telling you guys, don't do it. Don't do that. It's really hard on your back. I actually injured my back doing that once, and it was a re-injuring, an old back injury, but I was in a bad way for about 3 months. So don't split wood that way. It's not good. It's definitely not good. Try those 2 tips. No kidding. That if it takes a bit of practice to, contacting the axe and angling it off, but it takes some practice. But I'm telling you, once you get the hang of it, it really works. It works really well. Just like that. Pops apart. Nice and easy. I guess the best trick is to buy a log splitter. If you can afford it, if you can afford to buy one of those gas-powered log splitters, they're around $1,000. I'm in Canada. They're around $1,000. If you have a lot of big timber on your property, especially if you have a lot of big fir and balsam, this stuff is hard to split. Some of the big maple, I'm talking big stuff. You might want to consider that, because those gas-powered log splitters, they'll go through anything you can throw at them. And they have that model of the gas-powered log splitter that tilts up, and the device that splits the log actually goes up and down. So if you have big rounds, you can roll them right underneath there, and they work pretty good. I actually rent one maybe once every couple of years when I have some really a pile of big rounds, and it really helps a lot. A few years back, I guess 5 years ago when we moved to this new property, I actually bought one of the electric log splitters. And the one I got, I liked it. When I saw it in the paper, I liked it. It was on sale for, I think, $350. And I liked it because it's got a hydraulic piston on it. And most of the electric ones I've seen just had that screw drive, and I didn't really like the look of that. I know they're rated for so much pounds pressure, but I like the idea of that piston on there. It just seemed to make more sense to me. So I've been using that now for, I don't know, 4 years, I guess. And it's good. It goes through, pretty much everything I throw at it. But once in a while, there is some big ugly stuff that it won't split. So, if you got a lot of big ugly stuff and you can afford the gas-powered one, that's the way to go. Okay, well, you can see that's a pretty good chunk of fur there. No problem. Okay, you can see the hesitation there, but it did get through it. But like I said, there are pieces of gnarly stuff with lots of knots that it won't go through. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, when you're using one of these, I found that I think it's mostly my maple that sometimes I was trying to find a piece that would do that and nothing did it. But sometimes with the maple, when it splits, it'll release, and it'll almost like it'll pop, and the pieces will shoot forward with quite a bit of force. So when you're using one of these, make sure there's nobody in front of you, or windows, things like that. I hope this helps. I hope it saves your back, or it can help to save your back. Thanks for watching.